In this video, I'll be showing you the important fundamentals you need to know in Ninja Gaiden in order to make it through the game and not get frustrated. If you plan on playing the Master Collection after this, you can use these fundamentals on those games as well, and more likely than not Ninja Gaiden 4 when that releases. So without further ado, let's just jump on into it. So I'll be showing you just everything within the first area on the first level, and you can apply this across the game even on harder difficulties, and actually this is what you're gonna want to do on the harder difficulties. Ninja Gaiden is not a beginner-friendly game, especially if you're new to action games or hack and slashers. Ninja Gaiden is very skill-based, especially if you go higher up on the difficulties, which is a lot of why people play this game, is because it's fun, it's challenging, and it's very rewarding once you get good at it. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump onto the straight level and we'll talk about the first fundamental, which is blocking. So blocking is super important in this game as it prevents you from taking damage just like any fighting game. Definitely you're going to want to be blocking 95% to 99% of the time. But there is one caveat, or two caveats, and that's you can get guard broken just like you saw there. I'll show again. So if you hold block for too long, you can get guard broken and even thrown. So guarding too much is a thing, but you definitely still want to be doing it most of the time, as throws are super, so as you saw I got guard broken there, but throws are super reactable and you can dodge out of the way, which is another thing you want to learn, is learning to dodge in between attacks while blocking. So you block and then just tap a direction with your left stick, and that'll get you out of the enemy's range. And another thing you saw there is the little blue shadow that comes out from Ryu. This is a block dodge. And as you saw, I got guard broken, but was still able to dodge. This is super useful to get out of the enemy's range and reposition yourself, and just to prevent you from taking damage. Another thing is, if you're not in the middle of an attack, you can guard at any time. And I'll get into that later with attacks. So the next thing with guarding is counterattacking. This takes a little more precision, as you want to time your attack, or time your counterattack with their attack. So as soon as they attack you and you block it, you're gonna want to press X or Y, and they do different things depending on what button you press. So if you press X, you'll just do this quick slash as I get blown up. And the Y button will launch them up in the air, like so. So definitely use a mix of blocking, counterattacking, and dodging, just to prevent from taking damage at all costs. So the next fundamental I want to talk about is essence gathering. As you saw, when you kill an enemy, they get this yellow essence dropped. And this can be good for one thing, and that's charging up your obliteration technique. So if you hold Y, you know, Ryu does this charge, and he's unhittable unless you get grabbed. But what that will do is charge up a special attack that will do a flurry of moves. If you see Ryu glow blue like that, and there's two stages. He'll glow blue first and then red. Red is the most damaging one, and you can do crazy stuff like that and kill an enemy instantly. So as you see, there's a yellow essence. So how can we charge it up fast enough to where we won't get hit? Well, if we do a jump, and as we land and hold Y, you'll get an instant obliteration charge. One thing I forgot to mention is, as long as you're holding block and there's enemies around, you will not gather the yellow essence, which is important to know. So now that we know that, we can combine jumping with the charging as we land. So if we land and then hold Y or triangle, we'll instantly charge up our obliteration technique and collect the essence right away. This is super useful if you're surrounded by a group of enemies and you want to try and get most of them off screen and just eliminate it. You can cheese this by doing this a lot, but it's just not fun. But it can be a good technique to just eliminate some of the weaker enemies or even stronger enemies on screen. So next up, I want to talk about Shuriken Cancelling. And so you can do that by pressing B or circle on your controller in the middle of any attack. It can be a light attack, Okay, so Shuriken Cancelling can only be done after light attacks. I thought it was after heavies too, but no. So if you press like 2 or 3 light attacks, you can cancel. And what this does is it'll stun the enemy that you're attacking, and then lets you re-divert to a different enemy if there's a bigger threat next to you. You can also just do this to tack on more damage and just keep the enemy in stun lock. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Shadow Step. You get this ability right off the bat, and you can do it by pressing X and A, or square and X. So you'll know you do it if you see this little blue trail. And what it does is it'll make Ryu jump towards the closest enemy. And you can do a few things off this. You have Flying Swallow, which you can press Y or triangle, and he'll do like this diving attack. It can dismember them. But most of the time if they're like full health, they won't be dismembered. But it can be a good way to initiate a fight. Say you're running into a new area and you see some ninjas, you can just Flying Swallow them. Another thing you can do off of Shadow Step is actually step on the opponent. That's the actual Shadow Step. I forgot what this is called. But you can jump on them, and as you can see, it stuns them for quite a bit. This is really good to use when fighting a group of enemies, because you stun this enemy, and then you can go off and fight some other ninjas, or put some damage into other enemies. So use this as much as you can, because it stuns them and puts them out of commission for just a few seconds, to where you can put your energy and focus into other threats. And the last thing you can do from this is throw. So the Guillotine Throw. So if you press X and A again right after jumping, you'll throw them. And if you throw them against the wall, it'll do quite a bit of damage and stun them. If it doesn't kill them, you'll stun them. So this is really good to use if you're trying to get an enemy out of commission quick. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are combos. Just the main basic ones that you're gonna need to know, and you can do these right off the bat in the beginning of the game, and they're really good to use even further on down the road towards endgame. So with light attacks, you can go XXX or square square square, and light attacks have a greater chance of dismembering your opponents. I know they're light attacks, and it sounds kind of contradictory, but that's just how the mechanics work in this game. You can dismember, and once you dismember an enemy, you can do an obliteration technique, and that kills them right away. Once you dismember an enemy, you go walk up to them, and just press Y or triangle, and you'll instantly kill them. Be careful though, because these enemies can grab you and side you for a lot of damage. So for your combos, you have XXX and XXY. These are really good for dismembering, like I said. The next combo you have is XY. This is really good to launch an opponent up in the air, and then you can kind of single them out and go for your light combo string while up in the air. You can also do a Zuna drop, and to do that, you press XY, XX, Y, or three light attacks and then Y. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then press Y, and we'll do the Azuna drop. This is a very powerful move that, again, you're going to want to use throughout the game, because it can just instantly kill an enemy. Another cool thing you can do while doing air juggles is Shuriken Cancel. So if you press XXX and then press B, or you can even cut it shorter and do like XXB, and as you land, you'll be able to do two things. You can block. You can block right away. Okay, that was a grab. And you can obliteration technique right away. So if you have essence on the ground, you can launch them up, do this, and then like whoop. Anyway. Also, you can end with the Y button there. If you just do XY or XXY, you'll do this plunging move, and that can do quite a bit of damage as well. So if you launch them up in the air, you can do this plunging move by just pressing Y, and as you land, you can block immediately, which is super good to know, especially if you have enemies around you. And then if you block their move, you can just counterattack or dodge out of the way. Now, you have some directional moves like forward and X and forward and Y. So if you press direction and your light attack, Ryu will do this roll, and that closes the distance towards an enemy, which is really good because you can combine it with like Shadow Step and then do that. And if you do forward XY, you'll do the launcher just like if you press XY, and you can go for your air combo. So with heavy attacks, you can also just press forward and Y, or a direction towards the enemy and Y, and you'll do a launcher. So that's a quicker way of launching an enemy. If you are not able to just like land that first light attack, you can just press forward and Y, you'll launch them up quicker, and then go for your air juggle. As long as you implement and apply all these fundamentals that I taught you, you can do well in Ninja Gaiden, and even on the harder difficulties. So get out there and be the master ninja that you dreamt of. This is Darkson signing out, and I hope you take care.